So I was rewatching the Bronies React as well as Miss Anthropony's videos when it came to the final season finale, the ending of the end. And I've given my own thoughts about it myself, but you know, everybody has pretty much kind of agreed that, what Discord did was very stupid. You know, instead of like consulting, maybe even Fluttershy about, hey, I have this idea I want to do, he just went and did it. And a lot of people have felt that, that really just derailed a lot of what, Discord had accomplished from a character development progress-wise. And it was, and I will admit, it was probably not the brightest of ideas, especially the writing staff. Now, one thing that Miss Anthropony said in one video they did on season 8 and everything, and even Tootsie Fever, I think, or Tootsie Forever did one as well, is they pointed out that the staff wasn't the same writing staff, and that you could see that with the way certain, stories were kind of retold and everything, and how certain characters were portrayed and stuff, and all that. And it can be seen here. It can be seen here, but Jim Miller, I didn't watch the full interview just yet, but Jim Miller recently was on the Equestria Daily podcast, which you can find here on YouTube, and he did an interview with them. Now again, I haven't watched the whole thing, so I'm not sure if he addressed this issue, even though he did address it online, saying that basically, straight up, that it made more sense to go with Chrysalis, Cozy Glow, and Tirek as the final bosses, if you will, in the finale, instead of somebody new like Gorgar, somebody that would have been new to the G4 world that was already seen in G1, and that a lot of longtime fans and even MLP fans, even then, of the new generation, have known about. And Jim, he was what, the executive director, producer on the series. He has a right, to his opinion. There's no doubt about that. He has a right to his opinion. But I think everybody would agree that in this case, Jim, he should have basically gone with what I still believe was the original idea. I mean, just based off the presentation and everything, I think, as I said in one video, I believed, and still do, that Gorgar was the original planned villain. It's that something happened above Jim Miller's head, and they decided to go the other route. Jim can say what he wants to say, and again, like I said, that's his opinion. But I believe something happened that was above his head, to where he was basically, I guess you could say, told that this is the direction they wanted him to go in. Now, I'm not sure if somebody may have told him that not everybody will know who Gorgar is, and, because of that, they'll wonder, why is this powerful ram gathering all these past villains, and it's more powerful than them and all that. I don't know if that's what they told him, and that's what he relays in an answer when anybody brings up the question. I don't know. Just drinking some Baja Blast. But like I said, I don't know. But I can say this. Whoever was the one that, made the final call and basically, sent it down to Jim Miller to, let everybody know about. In my opinion, whether it was Megan McCarthy or somebody else, because I don't think it was Nicole Dubuque. Nicole Dubuque was the executive producer, along with Jim. But I don't think it was Nicole. I don't know if it was Megan or not, but I could say this. Whoever made that call and sent it down to Jim and Nicole and the rest of them of, let's make the terrible trio, as they were dubbed, the final bosses, and let's make Gorgar turn out to be Discord. I think they need to realize, and maybe they do, that it was a big mistake. It was a dumb mistake because, a lot of people, like I mentioned, a lot of people have pointed out that what Discord did derailed everything that he was progressing at, when it came to friendship. I mean, Applejack's line in the finale, in the first part, basically was, right on point. That he really hasn't, caught on to the true, something. Basically, her line of, you haven't really caught on to the, real thing of friendship lessons or something like that. Basically, pointing out that had Discord truly, caught on to what, friendship lessons are about, or what the lessons of friendship were given to him were about, he wouldn't have pulled something like this, but yet, here he is doing it. And that's the one thing a lot of people didn't like, was the fact that this deprogressed his, his progression, basically, his evolution. But, I look at it this way too, and I believe I've mentioned this before. I'm sure others may have pointed it out. You got to look at Discord. He's the Lord of Chaos, right? And he has his own way of teaching lessons to those that he feels need to be taught the lessons in a certain way. I mean, we're seeing that potentially right now, this mere speculation, but, we're seeing potentially that happening right now in the IDW MLP book, with what's going on with him taking the PegaSisters crystal and in my opinion, potentially using that to teach Sunny and her friends a lesson about the value of friendship. Again, that's just mere speculation. But, that's potentially where we're heading. And the reason I feel that's where we're heading is because we've seen it in the show. And as we saw in the finale, this was his own way of trying to boost Twilight's confidence, as well as teach her a lesson of, if you're going to lead, then you have to be ready for just about anything, no matter what the circumstance. Even if he didn't realize, it was going to backfire in his face, which it did. It did backfire in his face. So, Discord, to me, being the Lord of Chaos, from a story perspective, you can't, take something like this away from him, doing. You can't take him doing something like this away because, that's how he is. And, some people might argue maybe, what I'm trying to say is some people may argue that, maybe, he was trying to prove he could be just as good as Celestia when it comes to teaching lessons. And we've kind of seen that. We have kind of seen that when it comes to Twilight, Starlight, Twilight and Cadence, and now maybe even Sunny, that, he's trying to prove, hey, I can be just as good a teacher as Celestia, and I can, teach a lesson of friendship, but doing it in my own unique way. Or, like Celestia, he sees that she likes to boost the confidence of Twilight and her friends, and he probably thought, well, if she could do it, I could do it, but I'll do it in my own unique way. But his own way, in the finale backfired. Now, some others may argue and say that perhaps because he's the Lord of Chaos and, we don't see him as much in the episodes because he's always in the Chaos dimension, that maybe he needs Chaos to run amok in some way, in the real world, if you will. And he needs it to, run amok, some way in the real world, that, outside of this dimension, that, he's got to cause things like this to happen. Even if he doesn't understand, the aftermath circumstances that will follow. So people can argue that he did it for that reason too. The point that I'm getting at here is, when you look back at the finale for the series, the animated finale that is, when you look back on it, from a story perspective, yes, what Discord did was dumb. And easily, when Celestia basically got on him saying, "You've made a grave misjudgment," yeah, they could have had Discord come out and counter that by saying, "Well, at least I'm letting you," or well, what I'm trying to say is they could have had Discord, after Celestia got in his face saying, "You made a grave misjudgment," they could have easily had Discord come out and, counter that to her by saying, "Well, at least I'm willing to tell Twilight what I did. Unlike you, when you sent her after Nightmare Moon, not telling her that you actually are sending her after Nightmare Moon because you want her to help free your sister." He could have countered her with that, but we didn't see that. We didn't see that whatsoever. We didn't see that, period. But he could have done that. If they wanted to, he could have done that. The point that I'm getting at is, Discord, Discord may, in his own mind, from a story perspective, may have had the best intentions, the best of intentions in mind, but he did it in a way that pretty much he wasn't counting on would backfire. He wasn't counting on would backfire. And yeah, there are a lot of loopholes. There's no doubt in the story itself. Like, he could have, basically he could have avoided this. He has this thing where he could have saw what they were doing and been like, "Okay, I'm not chancing that. Back to Tartarus you go. Back to the middle of nowhere you go." Basically, like, back to Tartarus for Cozy and Turek. Back to the middle of nowhere in the forest for Chrysalis. And that's it. They could have done, he could have done that, but he didn't. And I admit that is a plot hole. But if you take away that plot hole, from his own perspective, he allowed things to play out, thinking that if it didn't go the way he was hoping, with an attack during the coronation where Twilight would, basically stand up along with her friends and being like, "Enough, we're going to beat you guys and will," that, he would have stepped in. He wasn't foreseeing the fact that, the villains I brought together are going to betray me, before I have a chance to stop them. And, again, he had good intentions, he just didn't foresee what was going to happen, period. Because from a story perspective, he actually thought that not only was he going to boost Twilight's confidence by going this route, but he was going to teach the most unteachable and unfriendliest of villains in the show to become friends. And it all backfired on him. It all backfired. Period. So when one thinks about it, there's that old saying of some of the best intentions or the best laid plans, fall astray. And that's kind of what Discord's thing did. His best laid plan and intention fell astray because he didn't count on the fact that the villains, they were going to team up together, but to betray him before he could do anything of significance, or before what he thought could potentially occur, could occur. And that's about it. So I'll admit, from a character standpoint with Discord and, him doing what he did, it was a dumb move. If he wanted to go the route he wanted to go, he should have planned out better. He should basically, if I'm Discord in the story, I would have had a backup plan. Knowing like, okay, these guys might betray me. They might do something that's going to depower me. I need to have something backed up. And that's where, again, Fluttershy could have came into play. You could have had Fluttershy on the side be like, okay, just give me a signal or send somebody to give me a signal. Your plan backfired, and I'll let everybody else know. And there you go. There you go. But, again, he didn't have that backup plan. Because being the Lord of Chaos, he went with the more chaotical logic that he felt would work, and it didn't. Now, again, from a story standpoint, yeah, you could put the blame on Discord. From a writing standpoint of putting Discord in this position, yeah, the writers, Jim Miller, Megan McCarthy, whoever came up with the final call and sent it down to be done, yeah, guys, let me say this again. If your intention was for Discord to be revealed to be Gorgar, you know what you could have done? You could have wrote in certain scenes throughout the series, maybe even earlier on, to where Gorgar, goes, walks off screen, goes into hiding or something like that, or goes off to potentially look for something, and then we follow him, and then as we follow him as he exits, the room in the cave, as we follow him, then we see him basically transform back into Discord. If you would have given us a clue like that, like, okay, now we see what's going on, even as early as like the as early as the third or fourth episode, yeah, it wouldn't have been a big issue. It wouldn't have pissed a lot of fans off, because of the fact that we would already be in on the idea of, oh, Discord's behind this. And, every time we would see him afterwards, we'd be like, oh, okay, he's doing this to try to teach Twilight a lesson. So that when it does come to the revelation that he and Gorgar are one and the same, not only is it more accepting, but you kind of side with him on the fact that, oh, shoot, everything he was planning just backfired, and now he's got to go tell Twilight and the others what he did, even though he wasn't originally planning to do that. He was going to make the revelation afterwards had things gone according to his plan. But again, that didn't happen. That didn't occur. And, now, what I'm trying to say is, that didn't happen, that didn't occur. And as a result, fans were not too thrilled when the revelation was made seemingly out of nowhere. Because it was unexpected, but it's like, really? So you build up this, big baddie this whole time, and yet it turns out to be just Discord, whose intentions were, I'm going to build up Twilight's confidence. I'm going to, have these 3 attack on Coronation Day. She's going to fight them back, and oops, it backfired on me. Again, the thing is, if they would have had it hinted at the end, we followed, like I said, we followed Discord. We followed Discord. Not Discord, but Gorgar, when he leaves the room, when he leaves the terrible trio, we follow him. He goes into this other part of the cave or wherever he's going to. Then we see him transform into Discord, and then he basically gives us an idea of what he's doing, or gives us a hint of why he's doing this. Yeah, like I said, it would have been more accepting. We would have been able to feel his plight, his disappointment that his plan backfired, but that didn't happen. Instead it came just out of nowhere, and it got under a lot of people's skin, because to me it felt like it was something that was just planned, that was just added in at the last second. Like, again, my belief is Gorgar was the original villain, and then this was added in. But yet, if Jim Miller is to believe, and this was the plan the entire time, again, the easier way to do it is to have us see Gorgar change into Discord, give us an idea of what's going on, so that when the revelation on screen is made, we feel we can kind of relate and feel Discord's disappointment of, well, my plan just went up in smoke. Now I got to go let the others know. But like I said, that didn't happen. Instead, we had the revelation just come out of nowhere. And again, it was basically one of those situations to where if it would have been done the other way that I just mentioned, again, it would have been more accepting. But yet, here we are. You know, about 3 years later, I think, or not even 3 years later, or going on 3 years later, and you know, again, you look back at these videos, and even recent comments still agree at the fact that this was a dumb move. Period. It was a dumb move from a writing perspective, and if you ignore the writing and just look at it from a story perspective, continuity-wise, and character-wise, it was a dumb move there too. Because writing-wise, you could have made it a lot more simpler. Like I said, you could have gone the route that I mentioned, and it would have been easily accepted once the revelation was made. And from a continuity story perspective, it was a dumb move on Discord's part. If he thought, hey, I'm gonna go with this plan, not tell anybody, and all that, but not count on the fact that, oh, I'm gonna get backstabbed by the very villains I help escape because I was originally planning to use this to help teach Twilight a lesson about being a good leader and boost her confidence as a future ruler. And again, it's just so, when you really get down to it, it's so dumb on both fronts. Yes, afterwards the story did save it. I'm not going to deny that. If you ignore that situation and focus on the rest of the story, yes, the finale was good. Ending of the end was good. In conjunction, last problem was good. But with that said, even if you ignore that and everything else is all right, everything is great, that's fine. But if you add that in and make that the focal point of, a separate video like I'm doing here and like others have done and like I have done, then yeah, you can understand why people even to this day are upset about it. I mean, I guarantee you when you go to a lot of these panels or do you do these interviews with the cast and the crew, and they get asked about this situation, yeah, they're going to give you a bunch of different answers, but I think, honestly, logically, when everybody is done with it, they just come back and like, yeah, that's what they want us to believe, but I think we can kind of see what was really going on, or what the real truth is. And again, as I said before earlier, everybody has a right to their opinion. If Jim Miller wants to say, oh, the Terrible Trio was the plan from the get-go, that's his opinion, but I think a lot of us would agree that wasn't the original plan. And even if it was, he could have gone in a more easier direction. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. What did you think about this when you first saw this revelation? Both from a in-story perspective as well as a writing perspective. Do you think that the writers could have made it a lot more acceptable had they wrote in the idea that we would see Gorgar transform into Discord to give us, earlier on in the season, to give us a better idea of what to expect? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. Love to hear from each and every one of you. Super chats and super stickers will be on during the premiere, and super thanks will be available afterwards. So until next time, guys, let me know what your thoughts are, and I am out.